On December 11, 2010, the search for a missing woman would uncover a chilling secret, a secret that would link together a series of unsolved murders spanning years. The remains of Sharnan Gilbert, a young escort who had disappeared in May 2010, were found in the dense underbrush of Gilgo Beach, on Long Island, New York. But what began as a search for one missing woman would unravel a horrifying discovery: the Long Island serial killer, a figure who has remained an enigma, casting a dark shadow over the shores of Long Island for over a decade. Who is the LISK killer? How many victims has he claimed? And why, after all this time, has this murderer evaded justice? This is the story of the LISK Girls, the unsolved murders, and the dark mystery of the Long Island serial killer, a case that haunts both the families of the victims and the community that has been searching for answers for over 10 years. It all started with the disappearance of Sharnan Gilbert, a 24-year-old woman from Jersey City, New Jersey. Sharnan was an escort, a young woman trying to make a living in the dangerous and uncertain world of sex work. On the night of May 1, 2010, Sharnan had been working in the town of Oak Beach, Long Island, when she called 911, claiming she was being chased by someone. The call was frantic, and at times, indecipherable. She spoke of a man who had allegedly threatened her life, and her words seemed to suggest that she was running for her life. The 911 operator could hear her desperate cries as she fled through the dark streets of the beach town. Her voice became more frantic as she ran, until the line went silent. That was the last time anyone would hear from Sharnan. Despite an initial search, Sharnan Gilbert was never found, until December 2010, when her remains were discovered near Gilgo Beach, hidden in thick brush. But what was even more chilling was that Sharnan's body was found near the remains of several other victims, and the realization struck that Sharnan Gilbert might not have been the killer's first victim. The discovery would lead authorities to one of the most shocking and sinister cases of serial murder in American history: the mystery of the Long Island serial killer, or LISK. As the investigation into Sharnan Gilbert's death deepened, authorities began to uncover a terrifying truth. The bodies of 4 women were discovered near the location where Sharnan's remains had been found, along with additional skeletal remains that would later be identified as more victims of the killer. All of the victims had been sex workers, and all of them had been discarded along the shores of Gilgo Beach and Oak Beach, a remote and desolate area on Long Island. The first 4 victims discovered were Melissa Barthélemy, a 24-year-old from the Bronx; Maureen Brainerd Barnes, a 25-year-old woman from Connecticut; Megan Waterman, a 22-year-old from Maine; Amber Costello, a 27-year-old from North Babylon, New York. Each of these women had been missing for months before their remains were found, and their bodies showed signs of deliberate concealment. But the horror didn't stop there. The authorities would go on to find additional bodies in the area, bringing the total number of victims believed to be linked to the Long Island serial killer to 11, though there may be more victims who have not yet been discovered. Each of the victims had been murdered, their bodies carefully hidden in the dense underbrush of the area. But what really disturbed investigators was the eerie pattern that emerged. The killer didn't just choose random victims. His victims shared common traits. Many of them were young women, working as escorts, and all were discarded in the same desolate area. As the investigation continued, it became clear that the killer was not only methodical in his murders, but also intelligent. It seemed that the Long Island serial killer was meticulous, choosing his victims with purpose, and disposing of their bodies in a manner that suggested the killer was both calm and in control. He seemed to know the area well, using it as his own personal killing ground. The question on everyone's mind was, who is the Long Island serial killer? For years, investigators have searched for answers, chasing down various theories and suspects, but the true identity of the killer remains a mystery. One of the most disturbing aspects of the case was that the killer seemed to be invisible, slipping through the cracks of the investigation. Was he a local resident? Was he someone who had intimate knowledge of the area? Could it have been someone with a background in law enforcement or military training, someone who knew how to evade detection? There have been several suspects over the years, but none have been conclusively linked to the murders. A man named James Burke, a former Suffolk County Police chief, has been mentioned in some circles due to his alleged misconduct and connections to the investigation. Burke was arrested for unrelated crimes, but investigators have not been able to link him to the murders of the LISK victims. Another suspect is John Bitrolf, a man with a history of violent behavior and previous convictions for the murder of women. Bitrolf had been identified by some as a potential suspect, but so far, no DNA or forensic evidence has directly tied him to the Long Island serial killer case. Theories surrounding the identity of the killer vary widely. Some speculate that the killer may have been a psychopath, targeting vulnerable women in a methodical killing spree. Others suggest the possibility of a family connection, with the killer being someone close to the victims, making his actions even more chilling. Despite years of searching, the Long Island serial killer has never been caught. The case remains one of the most haunting and frustrating unsolved mysteries in recent history, and for the families of the victims, the pain of not knowing who is responsible for the deaths of their loved ones is unimaginable. The families of the LISK girls continue to fight for justice, hoping that one day, the killer will be brought to justice. With new advancements in forensic technology and the ever-growing public interest in the case, there is still hope that one day the killer's identity will be revealed. But until that happens, the mystery endures, a mystery that remains unsolved, a case that continues to haunt Long Island, and a killer whose identity remains hidden in the shadows. The murder of the LISK girls is a tragic tale of lives cut short, families left without answers, and a serial killer who has yet to be caught. The Long Island serial killer has taken so much, but one thing he cannot take is the persistence of those seeking justice. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most haunting cases in modern crime history, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more episodes. We'll continue to shine a light on the darkest corners of the criminal world, hoping to bring answers to the families who still wait for justice.